Welcome to Big History. Let's talk about writing. That's my favorite, said almost no students, ever. But in this course, the writing is so frequent and varied, it will soon feel less like a chore and more like a skill worth developing. Together with tools on developing reading skills and critical thinking, our focus on writing helps students develop a pretty robust approach to history. Here is what we are going to cover. First, the writing rubric and claim testing. There is one grading rubric used throughout the entire course. Together with claim testing, students will have a simple and consistent approach to thinking about their own writing that builds upon itself over the year. Second, we'll talk about our formal writing assessments. The course includes an essay assignment for each unit called Investigations, modeled on the document-based question assessments you might find on the advanced placement exams or other standardized tests. In addition, we encourage a large end-of-the-course assessment, such as our Little Big History project. Third, we'll look at our classroom writing activities. We will review some of the repeating writing activities that appear in each unit, each structured to help students perform better on their investigations. Fourth, student writing growth. We will take a quick look at the results of an ongoing study from the team we work with at the University of Michigan. Let's start with the writing rubric and claim testing. BHP writing rubric. Big History believes that for all students to get better at writing, they need to understand what good writing looks like. In the beginning of the year, students read a sample student essay and use our rubric to grade it. They will revisit that same rubric throughout the year to look at specific elements of pure writing and make recommendations on how to improve the work. By helping their fellow students get better, they gain an understanding of the high expectations in this course, and they don't have to do it alone. In Big History, we refer to the notion of claim testing. Students use this idea when reading new materials to ask if a claim is consistent with our intuition, if it is supported by evidence, if it is made by a trusted authority, and if it is logical. We will cover claim testing later in more detail, but it is important to highlight that claim testing is a powerful tool for writing. Rather than simply asking students to cite evidence, claim testing gives them a concrete approach to elaborating on their ideas. You might ask students, is their claim intuitive to the reader? Has a single or multiple pieces of evidence been used? Are the authorities for each piece of evidence provided? Is the argument logical? Together, the writing rubric and claim testing are a powerful yet simple means for students to look at their own work. This will take time, however. In the first few times they use these tools, it might be a little clumsy. However, over the course of the term, students start to think about the questions these tools represent out of habit, which is really our goal here. Now, let's move on to our formal writing assessments. At the end of each unit, we ask students to write something we call an investigation. Similar to document-based questions, or DBQs, these activities start with a driving question, such as, why do we look at things far away and up close? What makes humans different from other species? And what's the next threshold? Each investigation asks students to read a short collection of documents related to the driving question, then write a multi-paragraph essay complete with thesis, intro, and conclusion, and of course evidence from the documents they've read, backing up their claims. Each investigation takes about 2 days to complete. Students return to their driving questions and develop their conjectures about the topic. They will have had practice thanks to the DQ notebook exercises. Next, they'll explore the documents in the investigation library and take notes to prepare for the exercise. The second day is dedicated to writing. Again, this is where claim testing really comes in handy, and you'll see your students pushing their use of these ideas to become more sophisticated writers. We encourage every class to have some kind of comprehensive end-of-term paper for this course. It gives students something to develop over the year, but it also gives them something to show off what they've learned at the end of the course. The Little Big History project is one such assessment, with resources and activities spread across the year. Students write a history of an object or an idea they care about, through at least 3 thresholds and from the perspective of at least 3 disciplines. At least one of these thresholds must be pre-human, and at least one of the disciplines must be history. Working as a group, students will explore many separate aspects of this topic. Then, they will each complete a 5 to 7 page paper detailing their individual findings. This project gives students an opportunity to really dive into a single topic, researching different components and following their interests. Many teachers have even held Little Big History Nights, inviting parents and community members to come in and watch presentations, which makes for a great way to engage the community. Now, let's take a look at some of our classroom writing activities. Most of these activities are intended to support student writing in the investigations, but they are also designed to help students develop a consistent set of habits for writing. The first such activity is the driving question, or DQ notebook. This activity asks students to respond to the driving question for each unit. They do this at the very beginning of the unit, even before they get into the content, because they may not know much about the topic, but they do know something. And, it turns out, this is important. Learning scientists call this activating prior knowledge. Students create a mental model that later allows them to organize the ideas and correct misconceptions they brought into the course, as well as expand on their initial understanding. Students will revisit their DQ notebook later in the unit, now able to cite evidence from the materials they have studied. Towards the second half of the course, students will be presented with a series of activities that explore the writing rubric in depth. Starting with a sample essay written by a real student, students will use the rubric to grade this essay and then debate what to award that paper for each row in the rubric. Over the next 4 units, students will work with peer writing, looking at another student's investigation and scoring it using only a single row of the rubric. Each time, the goal is to help the students dive deep into what makes a great piece of writing and how they can improve their own work. In the course, there are a couple of short activities in Units 3 and 6 that ask students to make a comic strip out of the life of a star and describe the evolution of man. This less formal form of writing has been popular among students, providing an opportunity to think through the narrative elements of their arguments. Some teachers have found these activities to be helpful pre-writing activities and extended the activities in the course. Now, let's take a look at the student writing growth in BHP. We've taken a careful look at the impact of all of this on student writing in an ongoing study we've done together with the University of Michigan. The results are really impressive, and you can check them out in the research report available in the teacher console. Bottom line, to get better at writing, students need to write. When you combine a consistent, year-long rubric, peer support and feedback, and a teacher who can create multiple opportunities for students to write and evaluate their own work, both you and your students will be amazed at how fast their writing develops. There you have it. Just a quick recap. Writing is incredibly important in BHP. To help students get better at it, we have a single rubric they are measured with all year, and we use claim testing as a way for them to look at their work. Our investigations provide a glimpse into student progress in writing at the end of each unit, and our activities are designed to help students understand what makes good writing and strategies to get there. Finally, the year-end research summary will provide you with the insight into the growth of student writing we have seen in BHP. That's all for now. Be sure to visit our blog or the community to talk more in depth about writing in Big History.